So, what do we have for you in the June issue of the Mover magazine? Well, there's a story that I'm particularly pleased with on page 26, the central pages and the front cover, which is an interview that I did with Matt Tebby, who's the CEO of Cartus. Now, it's not very often that we get the opportunity to interview one of the senior people at one of the major RMCs, and so it was a delight to be able to do that. Also, Matt is very new to the industry, so he has some quite interesting and enlightening views on the way things are done and the way the future is looking. So do take a look at that. It's on page 26, and it's our front page story. There's lots of other things in the magazine as well. There's a little story that I thought you might be interested in, which is it's called Fully Insured, and it's about how many moving companies claim to be fully insured, when in fact they're actually not, and no insurance policy covers absolutely everything. There are exceptions with everything, and so the story is asking whether that is potentially misleading. And also, I have asked for some responses from the insurance industry too, so you can see what they think about it all. We have a story from Atlas Van Lines, which is their corporate relocation trends story, which is, or survey rather, which has some quite interesting results. Lots of things in there that I think you might find quite encouraging. I certainly did. But one of the stats was that they reckon that about 75% of corporations are open to the idea of having a single supplier for international moving, which is under certain circumstances, which I was a bit surprised about, and I think you might be. Anyway, have a look at the rest of the surveys. There's some good stuff in there. There's an interview with Dennis Van Diemen, who is with Vorman. He's now in the Prague office, but for many years he ran the Moscow office. For obvious reasons, he's not doing that anymore. But I thought it was an interesting story to find out about that decision to leave Moscow and how they actually went about doing it. It's called Leaving Moscow, which is handy, isn't it? Anyway, what else we got? There's a story that I put in there called In Praise of Selling, because I'm not really sure that the way in which the standard of salesmanship in the moving industry everywhere in the world, I don't think has been as good as perhaps it should be for many years, and I think that is part of the difficulty that many companies find themselves in now. And but I did find out that IAM have a sales course which has got some very good reviews, but not all that many people seem to be subscribing to it, and so I just wonder why that might be. But also, Feedy are launching a new sales course through the Feedy Academy in November as well, so I hope that one is well subscribed. There's the final one I wanted to tell you about is a story about digitalised moving, which tends to create a bit of a yawn with many people, but actually I think it's probably the most important story in the magazine this month, in that it's about the future, about the way in which it potentially the moving industry would be able to communicate between itself and all the actors in an international move. And this is a system that has been trialled already by the airline industry successfully, and the moving industry is trying to see if it can be adopted, and looking for companies to work on a pilot scheme for it, which I think is really interesting. So if you think you might be interested in that, and I would argue that really you should be, take a look. It's on page 34. Anyway, there's lots more in the magazine. I hope you enjoy reading it, and I'll see you next time.